Alrighty, so let's start with the weekly overview, the trades that we took, trades that we didn't, and what could have been done better. So overall on EU, um, after we got that sweep, I was expecting price to potentially push to the downside, and once we got that CHoCH, it was confirmed that price is going to push to the downside indeed. But I wanted to see price pushing to the downside and not respecting demands, especially after we couldn't break above that level. So on the M15, that's exactly what happened. Swing was bullish, right? And I basically just tried to push price until the extreme. Um, whenever one of the demand got broken, so that demand got broken there, so it wasn't valid. So the TP would be the next demand, right? So what happened? The price just broke to the downside and retested. Although we had, let's call it a sweep or a sweep. Yeah, that's mostly a sweep of liquidity, right? And push to the upside. But let's just remember the overall direction of the H4 and what the M15 want to accomplish, especially in this trend. So the internal high was that one, like that, and internal low was low. We had a very beautiful extreme that had the inducement, and we never tested it. So once price came back again to it, gave us a clean LC2A there. So that's the LC2A that gave us beautiful stops above the high, right? We got CHoCH there. That was the fake break. But if, let's say, you took the trade after price just reached that level, well, you have no LC2A at all. Sorry, so that should be very clear that you should wait for an LC2A forming at that level. And that was before 6 a.m. even. At your desk, you'll be around here, so just wait for price to mitigate that supply again, give you an LC2A, which it did. Stops above the high and just target 1 2 3s. So 1 through 3 take us exactly at the next level, 1 through 3.3, so it's perfect. Second trade is basically once we got the mitigation of that level and we got that CHoCH, right, we were left with one only unmitigated supply. The extreme already been mitigated with that wick right there, so this is the only unmitigated supply. And we got an entry from there, LC2A entry, clean entry. Stop above, 2 pips above, yeah, and TP 1 through 3, it got smashed. Although even though if you didn't take, or if you didn't put stops above that level, right? Or you covered the highs, for instance. Let's say you covered the highs like that. Your TP would have been, your TP would have been somewhere around there, right? And the next day price would just drop to your TP and you'll be fine. So yeah, what happened next is that, well, these two trades, by the way, I didn't take. Unfortunately, I didn't take both of them. They were very good winners, so I need to focus on these trades that are aligned with the M15 or M15 internal, especially here when we got a trade off the extreme supply. And once we get that CHoCH, we got a trade off again from an unmitigated supply off the fractal, right? So these are very, very good trades. I should always get into these trades, right? What happened next is that price pushed there the next day, swept that liquidity, right? Gave us a CHoCH, but unfortunately, it didn't mitigate all the way to our supply. It didn't even give us any entry. If, let's say, for whatever reason we had an LC1 there, then it'll be very good to wait for price to mitigate that high, but it didn't, so that's fine. Happens. Price pushed to the downside, touched our second TP there, and yeah. Our third trade was when price pushed to our supply that had inducement. That was a very beautiful trade. Gave us a CHoCH, right? That was our CHoCH right there. But unfortunately, price went back to our supply, right? Gave us an LC1 or an LC2A, sorry. Where? Yeah, there. Give us an LC2A, but unfortunately, we got the trade to piss buffer, but unfortunately, the trade just stopped us, which is totally fine. And then what happened? Price broke to the upside, gave us another IBOS, which didn't make any sense. once price pushed to the downside, we didn't get any CHoCH, so there was no long opportunity along the way. We couldn't get into short, of course, because it's counter the internal. And yeah, price just broke to the downside, and a very dumb trade that I took, or not dumb, but it's not worth it, right? So now that we broke the overall target, which was the M15 low, we became bears, so that swing is strong. So we're in phase A2, right? So I need to wait for price potentially to give us an IBOS and then look for buys, or wait for price to create some internal and then look for buys. But unfortunately, at that point, um, you can say that this one, yeah, I mean, I think I was right here. I mean, that's not a bad trade, I would say. Because what happened is that price just gave us a CHoCH and then an IBOS, I would say. I'd call this an IBOS. Because our internal is very far away, right? Our internal is there, so no, this is actually a very good trade. So we got an IBOS, price reached our demand, and then he gave us an LC2A, which I took, but I got stopped out eventually, and that's totally fine. Very good trade, I think, in my opinion, and we could potentially see price continuing higher, although now we got another boss to the downside. So yeah, so that's everything for EU. Let's see GU, what happened on there. GU is where there were a lot of trade opportunities and a lot to learn from. So GU, basically same scenario where I was expecting price. Here is a bit clear and better. I was expecting price to push lower into at least EQ and pass the EQ until one of the demands. So I was just following the M15, right? M15 was bullish at that point, so I could have just sold and until we break the M15, right? Because overall target is lower than the M15 low, so I'm expecting price to break it. So I just needed to follow the overall target of the internal, right? So that was our internal high. Price swept that internal high. Unfortunately, we had a loss here where price mitigated that inside bar, but this inside bar doesn't have any inducement, so we needed to wait for at least CHoCH and then entry. We got that CHoCH, but we didn't get any entry when you go to the 5 minute. Unfortunately, what I did is just take an LC2A directly from the supply, which I shouldn't. I took an LC2A directly there, and I shouldn't. That was the CHoCH, and that was the fake break, and that was out my entry. I shouldn't do that. I mean, it's not an extreme, right? It doesn't have any inducement. At any moment we can break it, so yeah. And if it was extreme and had inducement, then it would be valid. Just I need to cover the highs and that'll be it. But yeah, that's totally fine. So that's a loss. I shouldn't do that at all for next time. And we just waited. That supply got broken, and we got CHoCH. We just swept that high. We got CHoCH, leaving us with two supplies. The first one is here. The second one is the extreme. There, the extreme has inducement, so that's very high probability. But if price gives us any entry from both, I'll take both. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. Price gave us an LC1 from the first supply, which we took, and gave us a loss. So first price gave us this first loss here, which was very fine. An LC1 entry was there when we broke the low. It was very good. Unfortunately, it got stopped out. And then price, what happened? It gave us an LC2A from the extreme that had inducement. So stops below the low, stops below the high, sorry, and entry below the low. And we just got tagged. And price went to TP beautifully. Yeah. And even in case I took 3 trades or 2 trades before, I think with this entry, I should take it 100% of the time. So yeah. Then we got another similar trade next day, which basically means that we went to EQ. We had this beautiful first supply, followed by this one, but this was the extreme. It had inducement about bit far. This one had inducement inside of the supply, which was very good. We swept that high, right? We swept that inside bar, and then we got CHoCH, leaving us with only one supply. So this is very easy. And at that moment, I was waiting for that trade. It's just that I missed it because I was too tired and I slept early, which was very bad. I mean, I slept, price was here and I slept and price just gave us an entry. I was waiting for it, didn't take it, and price went to TP, right? So I shouldn't do that. I put it in my lessons, and yeah. And then after we had that bust right there, um, of course, it's phase A2, so I shouldn't take any trade. Um, and yeah, I shouldn't take these two trades. Price just created high, low, and then high. So that was our internal high, internal low. Price went back to the extreme fractal high, right? And it gave us a CHoCH right there, leaving us with only one supply, which I took an LC1 from, and price went to TP. Yeah. This is phase A2, not worth it, I would say. Although could be worth it if the supply wasn't already mitigated here, right? Could have been a good trade. And yeah, price just pushed to the downside, broke to the downside. Now this is still I think this is still internal for me. It's not as big as the swing, right? So what happened is that we got CHoCH, and then price pushed to the downside, sweep that low, mitigated the extreme, gave us a CHoCH, and then another fresh demand that we took an LC1 from. So that's phase D. And yeah, that was my entry. My TP was 1 through 3, and it got hit. So these two trades, I shouldn't be taking them. And yeah, this one was not that bad, right? It was phase D, but it was high probability phase D, I would say, because it didn't really mitigate the extreme yet. I mean, the EQ yet, and he had a lot of potential to push higher, which it did here. And we swept the low on a fractal low, fractal demand, and we got a CHoCH followed by a fresh demand, which pushed price to the upside. So this wasn't bad, but this was not the greatest, right? So I shouldn't take these trades. I should just focus on the highest probability trades. And yeah, so what I put in my notes is that yeah, live result, I got 3R. Potential result, I got 4R. Because these trades and EU were on the same time, so I'm not sure if I would take all of them, but yeah. And yeah, the lesson one is if the extreme POI has no inducement, I need to wait for CHoCH, like here. If it doesn't have inducement, I need to wait for CHoCH and then look for trade. But here it didn't give us any LC1, so that's fine. But if the extreme had inducement, then we can look for an LC2A, right? And then cover the highs. Lesson 2, after price. If price sweeps strong high or low and followed by CHoCH in the overall higher time frame or medium time frame direction, fractal structure can sometimes give you two POIs, something like what happened here, right? Two POIs, that one and that one. So two POIs. I need to take trades from both of them, basically. Don't just take, don't just focus on one and leave the other. If price give us any entry on both, I'll take both. Lesson 3, the inducement can be either in front of the POI or inside the POI. Like what happened here. This is the inducement inside of the POI. I just need for price to sweep it and then give us a CHoCH. So that's exactly what happened here. Yeah, lesson 4, don't trade phase D or A2. Don't trade phase D or A2. Not high probabilities. Just follow the internal structure. Lesson 5, this is very, very interesting, I mean, important one. Always be on desk at 6:30 and don't trade from bed. Don't miss a setup because of sleep or lack of sleep like I did here. And yeah, so these are basically what I learned from the weekly overview. I will try to implement these and look at them again and not do them again, the mistakes, and try to only take the trades that are worth be taken, and hopefully we'll progress and not make these mistakes again. And yeah,